We're going to unpack the Epstein files, a story that keeps coming back into the headlines. Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump's connections. And this is where the story is. Now, there's a massive case or lawsuit that's been filed by Donald Trump against Wall Street Journal for a story that Wall Street Journal wrote about him. Not about policy, not about a campaign rally, but about a birthday card that insinuates an old friendship between Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. What is really going on? What could be in the Epstein files, and is it likely to hurt Donald Trump politically or legally? That's what we're going to break down in this story. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and sign up for our membership. Support us financially if you can. All right, so let's take a look at what's going on, right? So Wall Street Journal wrote a report that Trump had in fact written a racy birthday note to Jeffrey Epstein back in 2003, which had a drawing of a nude woman, which Trump had allegedly done, and signed Donald below the outline with the text that said, "Happy birthday, may every day be another wonderful secret." Now, Trump denies that he wrote this card and calls it fake, and he's filed a $20 billion lawsuit against Wall Street Journal, News Corp, Rupert Murdoch, and all of the reporters involved. Now, following the story, Trump has also ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to release the grand jury transcripts that are linked to the Epstein case, based on his earlier promise that he would release what are being called the Epstein files, something he's not done yet. Now, he's sent out mixed signals saying that he's going to release it, he's going to release everything that's interesting, but at the same time he's called the files a hoax. He's called the MAGA supporters, his own supporters who are supporting the release of the files, he's called them weaklings, and that's angered them even more. Now, polls show that 75% of Donald Trump's supporters want to see what is in those files. So it's really split down the middle between the possibility of files that could hurt him and his own supporters that demand to see what is in the files. But before we go further, let's take a quick trip down history to figure out who Jeffrey Epstein actually was. Now, he was a wealthy American financier who was partying with the rich and famous and the powerful in America, who was first charged with sex offenses back in 2006 when the parents of a 14-year-old girl in Florida said that he had paid that 14-year-old girl for sex. Now, technically, this could have had him spend a lifetime in prison, but actually he got away with a very controversial plea that was offered to him that gave him only 13 months in jail. Now, after that was 2006. Skip forward to 2019, he was arrested again in New York and charged with trafficking dozens of several underage girls. In exchange for money, he demanded sexual acts for them, and he also procured and recruited more underage teenage girls and supplied them allegedly to his rich and famous friends. Now, the prosecutors say he worked with employees and associates to ensure a steady supply of minor victims to very, very rich men. Now, Epstein pleaded not guilty to the charges against him, but in August, remember, he was arrested in July, 10th of August, while he was awaiting trial, authorities said that he was found dead in his prison cell, that he had hung himself. Now, there was a huge question that came up about this, that what did he know? Had he actually been silenced? Did he really kill himself? A separate case was opened after that against his longtime partner and girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell, who was jailed in 2022 for helping him recruit these girls, abuse these girls. Epstein's connections with high-profile figures also came into question, and Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced to 20 years in jail. Now, there are many famous names that have been linked to Epstein in various ways by association, people he traveled with, people he partied with, people he had meetings and, basically spent time with. Prince Andrew, the brother of the current King of England, accused by a woman called Virginia Graff, who made the main accusation and then settled out of court. Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, the name has come up a couple of times. Also, there have been questions about, say, Bill Gates. So there are a lot of questions about what is in these files, and if there's more clarity about whether or not these individuals were linked to Epstein, because all of them have denied having anything to do with him. Now, why these files still matter? Epstein's death has left many unanswered questions. The survivors continue to demand transparency. And of course, the public wants to know who enabled Epstein, who kept him safe for so long, who abused the girls in his circuit, and are these names really being protected, and if yes, by who? By whom, sorry. So what is in the Epstein files? Court documents, sealed court documents of the lawsuits and the testimonies of various survivors, flight logs of Epstein's private jet. It was called, incidentally, the Lolita Express. And it apparently shows names of celebrities and politicians and business leaders who flew with him to his island and back. A black book of his personal contacts allegedly has over 2,000 names of very, very rich and important people. Although this being listed in this book doesn't mean that you've actually done any wrongdoing, but it's raised a few eyebrows. Documents made public or through court proceedings, including the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, and photos, emails, testimonies that actually show how this entire operation worked: the grooming, the abuse, the transportation of girls across state lines and across countries' borders. Now, after the Wall Street Journal article came out, let's come back to Donald Trump. New York Times put out another article recently. It shared an accuser statement that highlighted the president's connection with Epstein. Now, the New York Times report suggested that one of the accusers, Maria Farmer's story, is one of the strongest clues for that connection. Now, Maria Farmer has actually said that she mentioned Donald Trump in her statements to the police. In an interview, particularly one, she has said that Donald Trump was a regular visitor to Epstein's properties. She does not accuse Donald Trump of sexually assaulting her, but she does say that he was one among those very powerful people who used to regularly visit Epstein in the early 90s. Now, in the interviews that Maria Farmer has given, she said that she was alarmed when she saw Epstein's pattern of pursuing girls and young women while building friendships with prominent people. She said that she raised Trump's names in her complaints in 1996 and 2006, not only because he seemed close to Epstein, but because of an encounter that she had previously publicly described. She said basically she had gone to Epstein's office in running shorts, and I'm giving you the shorter version here. Trump arrived, he kept hovering over her. Epstein then entered the room and told Trump, "No, she's not here for you." The two men left the room, and Trump apparently commented that she looks like she's about 16 years old. After her encounter with Trump, she says that she had no other interactions with him and did not see him engage inappropriately with girls or women. Now, this has come up again. People are asking one more time, was Trump linked to Epstein? Now, Trump has really tried to downplay ties with Epstein, but their relationship stretched all the way back to the 1980s. There are numerous photographs all over the internet of Trump and Epstein together. Trump flew on Epstein's jets between Palm Beach and New York. According to the flight logs, they socialized in each other's properties. In fact, back in 1992, the New York Times reported that Mar-a-Lago, which is Trump's Florida golfing sort of resort, was host to a calendar girl competition in which 24 women were flown in to compete, and the only guests present was Trump and Epstein together, according to a Florida businessman who organized the event. Now, most famously, Trump back in 2002 told New York Magazine that Epstein's a terrific guy. Quote, "He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do. Many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it. Jeffrey enjoys his social life." End quote. Now, a former Trump aide has also told Washington Post in 2019 that he had pressed Trump about his ties with Epstein back in 2014, and when Trump was considering a presidential run. Nunberg had actually said that Donald Trump would hang out with Epstein because he was rich. But how close the two men were, and did they continue to be close, we don't know. Now, Epstein was arrested for trafficking minors in 2019. After that, Trump publicly distanced himself. He was quoted saying, "I knew him like everybody else knew him in Palm Beach. He was a fixture in Palm Beach. I had a falling out with him a long time ago. I don't think we've spoken in 15 years. I wasn't a fan." Apparently, he kept repeating that I wasn't a fan. But his account of not speaking to Epstein since the 2000s is actually backed by the Washington Post, which reported back then that the two men had a falling out in 2004 because they were both vying for the same property at Palm Beach, and Donald Trump apparently got it, and so Epstein and he sort of fell out, and then they didn't stay friends after that. It was only after that that Epstein technically got into serious trouble back in 2006. So Donald Trump could argue that when I knew him, there was nothing wrong. Now, January 2024, Trump has argued on social media, I was never in Epstein's plane. But we know that the flight logs very clearly show that Trump did in fact fly in Epstein's plane. Remember, Trump had also at one point said that he doesn't know Prince Andrew of Britain, but there are many photographs of the two of them together. So a lot of times when Trump makes statements, people don't take them as seriously. Trump said that when he was rerunning for president this time in 2024, that he would probably release the files related to this case. But since taking office, and even the fact that his supporters have demanded it, he hasn't really moved to release the files at all. He has now been dragged into these conspiracy theories. His administration has made efforts to release some of the files, but they've fallen short because they haven't actually released any new information. Now, here's the question. If there's something more interesting in these files than what we already know, can it damage Trump politically or legally? Trump is no stranger to scrutiny or to being accused of sexual offense. Now, I want to remind you, just last year, before he was elected to president again, he was convicted of felony charges in New York in connection with hush money that he had paid to an adult film star ahead of the 2016 presidential elections. Trump denied that relationship, but then it turns out that he took money out of his campaign funds to pay the porn star to make sure that she doesn't talk about him anymore. And that was proven in court. According to the 2024 media report, Stacey Williams, one of 27 women who accused Trump of sexual conduct. Williams told she told the story that she had attended a Christmas party at Trump Tower, and it was clear at that time that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were good friends. Now, at that evening, Williams became romantically involved with Epstein, and she was Epstein's girlfriend. And when she had visited Donald Trump at Trump Tower, he apparently groped her in front of Epstein. She goes into detail of what he did. I'm not going to go into those details, but she was frozen and confused because she thought she was Epstein's girlfriend, but here was his friend Donald Trump allegedly groping her in front of her boyfriend, and the two of them apparently laughed and they made light of it. After that, Caroline Leavitt, Trump's press secretary during his campaign, came out and said this was completely false. But I want to remind you, like I said earlier, that 27 women, all of them named, all of them documented, none of them anonymous, have come out and accused Trump of sexual harassment, sexual assault, some even of rape from the 1990s to recently. These include models, actresses, journalists, associates in his business, global beauty queens, staffers, sometimes employees. These accusations came after the publication, you'll remember, of the Access Hollywood tapes back in 2016 when he was running for president, when there was a leaked conversation between him and a television host, Billy Bush, when Trump disrespectfully said that because he's famous and because he's rich, that he was bragging about the fact that he can kiss women whenever he wants to, he can touch them, he doesn't need their permission, they'll let you do anything, he says. Those tapes sparked backlash, and after that, more and more women came out to accuse him of sexual misconduct. One of the most high-profile accusations came from one E. Jean Carroll, who was a journalist at the time when the incident took place. She accused him of sexual assault back in the 1990s. And Trump denied those allegations. So what Carroll did is that she sued him for defamation about his denial, and she won that case. And she was awarded $83 million by the court for the damages. So here is a woman who accused him of rape. Trump said she's a liar. She sued him for defamation, for calling her a liar, and she won that case. So effectively, that case judged that she was telling the truth. Now, in spite of all of that, Trump went on to become president not once, but twice. He has lived all of this down, all these accusations, all the details, everything that he has said, all of the evidence that is available against him. It could be arguably because his supporters don't really care. So the question is, he has now denied connection with Epstein. He has called his supporters who want those files gullible weaklings for continuing to believe in it. At one point he said Biden and Obama have made up those files and they're not really a thing. But the truth is, he has great support among his MAGA supporters. Apparently, at one point, he actually made a joke saying that he could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot someone without losing any voters because his supporters were that loyal. So, at the end of the day, does MAGA still belong to Donald Trump? Or can it turn against him? That's the question that we're asking. So he is actually in a catch-22 situation. If he releases the files and they know what is in the files, are they likely to forgive him and accept him as they've done on repeated counts in the last several years? Or is he, if he continues to keep the files secret, is he likely to lose supporters? So Donald Trump is having to make that, make that judgment right now as to what he wants to do with these Epstein files. But technically, if you ask me, he has lived down a lot of very shocking accusations, which could have taken down any other politician. But Donald Trump is made of, let's say, sterner stuff. So I want to know what you think. Do you think the Epstein files are likely to be released? And if they are they likely to damage Donald Trump at all?